Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we've got a lot to get through in today's weather forecast. We've got ex-tropical cyclone Megan tracking across the Northern Territory. Then we're going to take a look at a potential for a tropical low to develop in the Coral Sea in around 8 days' time, and that will drive rainfall accumulations up for the Cape York Peninsula. And then we're going to be talking about the tropical cyclone that could develop over West Australian waters. If you are brand new to the channel, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Starting things off with tropical cyclone Megan, you can jump around to what part of the video suits you the most during with the chapter section in the comment section, in the description rather, down below. Tropical cyclone Megan here over the Northern Territory, just to the north of Tennant Creek. She has looked a lot better, that's for sure. Really struggling now. I mean, obviously it is right over land and it doesn't have access to the ocean for fuel for its thunderstorm activity, but it still is nonetheless dumping quite a bit of rainfall across the central parts of the Northern Territory. There have been places that have picked up over 300 millimeters in the path of tropical cyclone Megan. Areas around Tennant Creek are expecting another 150 millimeters today, and then there'll be other areas, especially further north up towards Arnhem Land and the Kimberley region of Western Australia, where this storm is tracking right now, that could be picking up a healthy dumping of rainfall over the next 24 hours as well as Megan tracks through the Northern Territory. But her rainfall will certainly start to peter off as we get into Thursday, and it should be all gone by Friday, or at least all gone out of the Northern Territory by Friday. And we'll take a look at the forecast models here. Keep in mind that they're probably still a little bit more on the bullish end for this rainfall. They're definitely on the overestimating end, and that is because the storm has performed worse than expected over land. So the forecast models are just trying to catch up on that in the meantime, though they are still calling for the majority of the rainfall to be anywhere south of the low pressure area, which would include locations such as Alice Springs, Tennant Creek, and the communities between there. Not a very populated corner of Australia, but still certainly some areas that could be experiencing some pretty significant flooding as the day goes on and into tomorrow. And yeah, as I said, it looks like it turns into a mess of pulse thunderstorms by Thursday evening, tomorrow evening, and then dying off again on Friday morning, and then again firing up Friday evening. But it looks like the remnant energy from the trough line should extend through the Northern Territory and then into Queensland on Friday evening, and that will drive some thunderstorm activity through Friday, Saturday and Sunday across a lot of the Northern Territory and into Queensland, and might actually drive some pretty significant thunderstorms across parts of Queensland, some of which could be severe, but it looks like they're going to miss the Brisbane metro area. And yeah, it just looks like a mess of thunderstorms over Queensland and parts of the Northern Territory, and also into Western Australia into Monday. Now, over the next 5 days, which is where the bulk of the rainfall will be happening over the next 5 days, it's going to be touch and go areas outside of the direct influence of the tropical low right now. So that includes areas down towards Alice Springs, maybe even Birdsville as well. They might receive some rainfall, but again, as I said, very touch and go rainfall because it will come in the form of pulse thunderstorms. So Alice Springs could see anywhere between 20 and 150 millimeters. Areas further north up towards Tennant Creek, Elliott and Wave Hill, the rainfall does become a little bit more predictable. We're sort of talking up towards 50 to 250 millimeters for some areas. Tennant Creek should be the wettest of the locations in the Northern Territory that get mentioned here, up to 250 millimeters expected there. And then there'll be locations further north and sort of Wave Hill and Elliott up towards Katherine, and then deeper into Arnhem Land and Kakadu, where we'll likely be seeing just more sporadic 25 to 75 millimeter totals, especially over the next 24 to 48 hours. There could be some pretty decent thunderstorms that blow up across parts of the inflow features of this tropical cyclone, and they are represented by the appearance on the satellite imagery. We'll just take a look at the infrared satellite imagery right now. I know the borders are quite hard to see in this imagery, but stick with me. You can see that the storm blowing up a pretty dismal amount of convection in all fairness. I mean, there's not really any strong thunderstorm activity around the center of the storm right now, and it is definitely struggling at this time to really do anything decent or jaw-dropping, but still though there could be some moderate to heavy falls around the centre of the circulation. It is out of radar range, which is quite difficult. The Northern Territory has some pretty dismal radar coverage, and I would love to see it added, a new radar, probably added around Elliott or Tennant Creek. That would be fantastic, be a great inclusion to the Australian Weather Radar Network. Yeah, but you can see we're definitely deep into a grey zone. As you get deep into the Northern Territory, and a radar here would really be the icing on the cake in all fairness. Australia does have quite a few radar holes. Another one in Birdsville would be fantastic. But again, not knocking the Bureau of Meteorology, radars are damn expensive, so no need to complain about that, especially considering it's probably only going to cover the population of around 5 to 10,000 people up there. But yeah, you might also be able to notice a pretty decent splotch of rainfall around Cairns. Cairns residents, you're definitely sick of the rainfall. 150 millimetres has fallen overnight, so you're definitely wakened to quite a wet morning. You're going to feel very tropical up there today, and just more rainfall expected throughout today, and in fact right up towards the end of the month. It is March, it is the wettest month of the year for parts of the Cassowary Coast and areas into the Cape York Peninsula, and it's also been quite wet inland as well. We've seen some accumulations approaching 100 millimetres inland as well around Croydon, Georgetown and Mount Isa and adjacent communities there, but it's definitely going to be the Cassowary Coast and the Daintree Coast that pick up the worst of the rainfall over the coming 10 days. Now, I did highlight the potential for a tropical low to develop. It could develop, again, the Eastern Relief model, which is kind of the cyclone model that should be used by the Bureau of Meteorology. It really doesn't have anything in terms of a tropical cyclone signal. Both the GFS and the Access G3 model are very much on board with a tropical low developing. Nothing cyclonic, but a tropical low that will drive rainfall accumulations up quite high across the Cape York Peninsula, probably starting to develop by around Sunday-ish. Now, if the Access was the only model that was calling for it, I wouldn't even have time to cover it in this video because the Access model is generally quite useless in terms of cyclone forecasts. But the fact that the GFS also has it spinning up, which is a very reliable model, tells me that something could very well happen up here. Now, a tropical low generally very insignificant in terms of wind speeds and also damages. However, what it's got my eye is because it's going to spin up in a very close proximity to the Queensland coastline, and the reason why that's significant is because it's going to be driving a lot of rainfall ashore here in this onshore flow towards the south of the centre of circulation, and that means, as usual, anywhere north of Townsville is going to get drenched, and that's going to happen from this weekend onwards, probably more so into next week. This weekend could be dominated by those just heavy, or moderate to heavy, but very sporadic and unpredictable showers, followed by intermittent bursts of sunlight, but it looks like next week we might be settling in for some more consistent rainfall, especially Tuesday and Wednesday, and maybe even into Thursday as well, and that is once again reciprocated amongst the Access G3 model. I'm just going to pull this back here on the Access G3, but yeah, from Monday onwards, basically, you're expecting quite a significant amount of rainfall to come ashore on this onshore flow, which could be in the form of some heavy thunderstorms and heavy shower activity. And I mean, we're just talking about rainfall accumulations being driven up here Tuesday and Wednesday. Nothing too significant over the next 3 days in terms of rainfall. Maybe a couple more heavy showers today up towards Cooktown on Laura, and we could be seeing up towards 150 millimetres up there. But as you start getting in towards the 5 and then the 10-day forecast period, this is the Access G3's numbers, but you're now looking at these pinks, which is up to and above 500 millimetres of rainfall, and that is quite widespread from areas south of Cooktown down towards Innisfail and Cardwell as well, maybe even one or two spots up towards 800 millimetres. So it could be a very, very wet next week, early next week, as this tropical low tries and develops offshore. Once again, it's not supported amongst the Eastern Relief forecast model. You can see Cairns is expecting about 500 millimetres from the Access, and the Eastern Relief has it getting about 25 millimetres. So there's not really that much model congruency right now, but it's just the fact that the forecast models have been saying this for a couple of days. I do feel like it should be mentioned. But again, there's absolutely no need right now to start panicking and preparing because it is about 6 or 7 days out from now. But I will be giving you more detailed coverage on this system by around Friday and Saturday in regards to when this is going to happen. This is kind of just the heads up at this point because it could completely flop. Taking a look at the GFS model as well, they're also calling for a very healthy amount of rainfall to fall over the next 10 days in a very similar fashion to how the Access G3 is calling for the rainfall to fall. So you can see the GFS here and then the Access G3 model here, very, very similar in terms of rainfall accumulations for certain locations and also its rainfall spread. So again, that just gives me more confidence in saying that this is likely going to happen and it is going to be a factor in the forecast by around Monday next week. So certainly something that we will be keeping an eye on, that's for sure. Significant amount of rainfall up there, not associated with the remnants of ex-tropical cyclone Megan. That should just die off in the Northern Territory, hopefully. You can also see here over the next 5 to 10 days, quite a bit of rainfall that's going to be falling across New South Wales. We can take a look at this one just briefly because it is something that is on the forecast now from the Eastern Relief. I don't think that it is going to happen, but it looks like the remnant energy from ex-tropical cyclone Megan from Tuesday Tuesday right through Wednesday and then into Thursday and Friday is going to move through New South Wales and drive a very significant thunderstorm event. Now, it is March, and going into April, it will be nearly April towards the end of the forecast period when the rainfall looks like it is going to be coming. You can see some pretty significant thunderstorms across New South Wales and Queensland. Nothing like we generally see in spring and early summer, but you can still see some pretty significant thunderstorms here. So this is also going to be a factor that we need to be watching in the forecast, and there will definitely be more details on this expected thunderstorm situation by Saturday and Sunday. I don't wholeheartedly believe that this is going to happen though at this time, so I'm not overly concerned by it right now. But still though, Sydney and Tasmania and Victoria could also receive some pretty moderate to heavy showers, especially towards Sydney throughout the course of today, with the passage of a strong cold front. Won't neglect you guys down there, because that is kind of where the population centre of Australia is, down towards Sydney and Melbourne. Some pretty significant shower activity could be expected there in the first significant cold fronts of winter, even though it's still about 3 months away from winter at this time. So let's dive up north now and take a look at the developing tropical cyclone in West Australian waters. As I said, looking very healthy. It was looking healthy yesterday, and it's looking really decent today as well. I mean, there's nothing I can say to really knock this system at this time, because it is looking quite nice. It's definitely looking with the characteristics of a developing tropical cyclone. It's certainly a weak system at this time, but it is wrapping itself up very nicely, and I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't actually picked up a name at this time. It should be picking up, oh geez, this is bad of me, but I've forgotten the next name on the Australian naming list, but it certainly should be picking it up by around now, or at least tonight, because it is looking very decent. Now, it was expected to become quite significant in terms of intensity about a week ago. We were sort of talking category 3 or 4 status. That has since, of course, been back down. Kind of the story of West Australian cyclones this season, just everything being back down. And now only expecting a category 1, maybe a very brief category 2 strength system. And even I reckon the Bureau of Meteorology might be going a little bit bullish on this system. I will note it will be moving through a period of fairly favourable conditions by around Thursday evening and then into Friday, and then those conditions should start to ease off by around Saturday evening. So it's going to have about 2 days in some very favourable conditions, and as a small system it does have the potential to explosively intensify across the very favourable conditions that it will be moving through. So don't be completely surprised if this does get towards severe tropical cyclone status or higher. It has happened before, but again, it's not something that's on the forecast, and it's also not something that has happened that often before. So precedents and the lack of reliable forecasts on this system kind of tell me that that is just not going to happen. But we just never know with West Australian systems. Absolutely no threat to land. It should be pulling all of the kind of gusty showers and thunderstorms that have been occurring across the Pilbara coastline completely away throughout the course of today. And there shouldn't be any more bad thunderstorm conditions. But geez, some pretty heavy thunderstorms really did occur from this tropical cyclone's kind of inflow features around 12 hours ago. That was some pretty crazy thunderstorm activity. Or maybe it was just a glitch in the radar, because the radars up here can get notoriously glitchy. Yeah, some pretty decent thunderstorm activity across parts of the Pilbara and the Gascoyne. So let me know how they were if you do live or do FIFO work up in a beautiful region of Western Australia. Anyways, that basically does it for today's weather update. Thank you so much for your company this morning. It's been great having you and been great presenting the weather, especially over the past 2 months. I've been thoroughly enjoying this, and you guys really have been quite helpful on this channel as well. I've learnt a lot doing it as well, and I couldn't have done it without you, the audience. If you do have a weather report for your location, then please do leave it in the comment section down below. If you've got any questions or comments, then also leave them in the comment section. I'll try and get back to as many as I can today. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.